Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today, we're continuing our ongoing coverage of the war between the Russian Federation and the Ukraine. Now, today, the Ukrainians are reporting that they have shot down a Russian Su-30 multi-role combat aircraft over the Black Sea. The Ukrainian media alleges that the aircraft in question, this Su-30, was targeting "quote unquote" Ukrainian civilian sites near Odessa. Now, herein lies the problem with that statement in regards to this Russian aircraft, this Su-30, that was allegedly shot down targeting civilian sites near Odessa. You have to look at what this Su-30, this Su-30, was armed with. What was it using to target these quote-unquote Ukrainian civilian sites? Well, the Ukrainians themselves have acknowledged that this aircraft in question right here, this Su-30, was firing KH-31Ps. KH-31P, P meaning passive seeker head. So this is a anti-radiation missile system. This is a weapon system designed to purposely target air defense systems. It is impossible for this system to target a building, as the Russian aircraft is flying within the seeker range of the KH-31P, much like a Shrike or a HARM with the United States, the high-speed anti-radiation missile. Same concept. Same concept. So the idea that the Russians are using these very expensive systems to target civilian buildings in Odessa is really kind of nonsensical. They were flying SEAD missions, suppression of enemy air defense. That's what this Su-30 was doing. Now, it was providing support to reportedly another Russian aircraft, a Su-35, which could have been conducting a different mission in regards to targeting another possible Ukrainian site. But look, they're not going to, the Russians, are not going to conduct a suppression of enemy air defense operation that is purpose-driven to attack a civilian building. It's just not the way it works. So again, the probability that this aircraft was specifically targeting civilian sites is absolutely false. It cannot target civilian sites. The weapon system that it was using was specifically geared towards targeting a Ukrainian military unit, an air defense unit. So again, this is how the media in this ongoing war shapes this narrative. So if you are the uninformed urbanite here in the United States or the EU, and you hear about this nasty Russian Su-30 that was attacking Ukrainian civilian objects with this missile, it's completely erroneous. It's false. It wasn't happening. They were going after a military target. Now, additionally, in the news, I want to get over to this article real quick. The United Kingdom has given Ukraine permission to use Storm Shadow missiles to strike targets on Russian territory. I've been talking about this for the last few days now. So this is going to be step one. Step one will be the use of the Storm Shadow, probably hitting targets 100 miles deep into the territory of the Russian Federation. Now, once that becomes the new norm, we will probably see other systems, such as the JASM, being used against Russian targets as well. And I've talked about this again and again, this process of escalation. And again, at what point do the Russians say enough is enough? Now, we don't know the answer to that yet, but I am concerned that we are approaching the precipice of the Russians eventually launching an attack against a NATO member state at some point, especially if these low observable, very advanced weapon systems produced by the United States and the United Kingdom and France strike a very sensitive target inside of Russia. There's going to be a response. Now, additionally, things are going very, very bad for the Ukrainian Kursk incursion. You know, the U.S. media is very much focused on the ongoing efforts by the Ukrainians to control potato fields just across the border inside the Russian Federation. As we speak, Russian aircraft are bombing various locales in the area of the Kursk incursion. We have also started to see Russian counterattacks, specifically on the northwestern side of the Kursk incursion salient. You can see here the depiction of the envelopment operation in which the Russians are attempting to defeat this combat Ukrainian element here involved in this salient and then push this salient back. And we anticipate that the Russians will continue these incremental operations while being directly supported by these GLONASS guided glide bombs. This is going to be a very slow, very methodical operation in which the Russians conduct said operation. We don't think it's going to be, we're going to wake up and the Russians are going to launch this all-out offensive against the Kursk incursion. I think they're more than happy to allow these Ukrainian units to set just across the border inside the Russian Federation and get bombed and depleted by the Russian Air Force. And that's exactly what is happening. Now, further south in the Donbas offensive, the Russians continue to close in on Pokrovsk. They're continuing to do that. They are continuing to widen the salient that is just to the west and northwest of Donetsk. At the same time, the Russians continue to encircle and envelop Ukrainian units that are operating near the line of contact. Again, slow, methodical operation. The Russians are trying to prevent casualties within its own forces, while at the same time inflicting massive amounts of casualties on Ukrainian forces, specifically with its air force and its multiple launch rocket systems and artillery systems. And that is what they continue to do. The Russians, continue to do in this war of attrition that will probably last another year and a half. And at a certain point, as we talked about before, the Ukrainian military will be on the verge of collapse, and at some point it will simply collapse without direct Western intervention, meaning actual NATO troops are placed inside of the Ukraine to prop up the Ukrainian army, and we go into global war between the Russian Federation, possibly China, possibly Iran, against the EU, the NATO, and the United States. That's the direction that the conflict is pointing. So again, I thought it was important to talk about the alleged Russian shoot down of that Su-30. Again, it's very important to understand the messaging within the context of the mainstream media, and it was very important that that one little blurb where they talk about this Russian aircraft is targeting civilians inside the Ukraine. The uninformed urbanite that reads that article or listens to that article put out by the Ukrainians just take it for a matter of fact. They see a blown up building and they correlate that with the message that this Russian aircraft is targeting civilians. But it's not. Again, the weapon system that it was using cannot target civilian structures. It's not designed to do that. It's designed to take out enemy radars. That's what it does. It's not designed to target civilians. It could not be used for that, and I think it's a very classic example of how the media is manipulated in this conflict for the uninformed urbanite here in the West. So, again, we will continue to cover, we will continue to report the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you for joining us today. As always, have a good day.